Hello, everyone. Welcome to WES, Wolfson Entrepreneur Society's first ever event of this academic year. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Carol Yuan, Vice President of WES. WES is one of the largest societies based at Wolfson College of the University of Cambridge. Wolfson has the majority of our students of postgraduates and mature undergrads. We have been dedicated to connecting and supporting entrepreneurial students and alumni across our global network since 2019. It's a great honor to have Mr. Amos Lee, founder, group CEO, and partner of FMI today in Hong Kong. Amos is an international property veteran with over 20 years of experience. Amos founded FMI in 2014 and won the Asia Pacific Entrepreneur Award in 2019. Amos has evolved his business from a renowned international agency in Hong Kong to become an active residential developer and property manager in Japan, including Tokyo and Osaka. Amos has transacted and managed over $8 billion worth of international properties throughout his career. Hello, Amos. Welcome to WES.
Hi. Thanks, Carol, for having me.
Thank you. So, Amos, shall we hear your sharing first, and we'll open the floor for Q&A with our online audience thereafter.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. So, for the online audience, welcome to our show today. So, please feel free to share your questions with Amos in the comment box. We will consolidate the questions and present during our Q&A session. So, Amos, can you share a little bit about your background with us? How you found FMI and how you developed your career till now?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Well, basically, I graduated, in the business and application science, which is actually I'm a qualified QS quantity surveyor by practice. Although I never really practiced quantity surveying. Okay, but having said that, I used to study in UK, London, as well as in Australia. I'm a Singaporean, by the way. So I came to Hong Kong in 2008. Worked for an international firm, and before I found FMI in 2014. So these 20 over years, I've been really lucky. I've been involving property from Singapore to Thailand to Hong Kong, well, pretty much worldwide, of course, UK. So then in 2014, I decided to set up FMI, my own firm.
Wow. So why did you establish FMI? What was your vision?
To be honest, in 2014, after the 14 years of working experience in real estates, and I've been really lucky. For the 14 years, I've won many really top awards like the Best Management Estates. I've been consecutively 10 years being the top performance, fee producer, fee generator, whether it's for my previous two offices. Ended up, I was in one of the UK firm. I was executive director then, leading the Chinese team, the whole Hong Kong, Singapore, and China team. So then I thought, wow, in 2014, I was only around 38, and I was like, I'll hit the ceiling of the company. And I guess it's pretty tough, or probably not easy, for me to be one of the partner, to be invited as a partner, in this basically Western firm. Because very much so, the big four agency companies, their directors or their partners are always ready from WES or from UK itself. So I thought, in order for me to break through my own ceiling, and since I was only 38, and I thought it's either I do it before 40 or else I will left with no energy to basically fight for it. And apart from that, being the other two offices, the other two companies, I've gained quite a number of experience that I feel, how come the big four, and even my previous company, they are all Westernized companies, but the major market is in the East. And so why is it that there isn't any company from Asia or even Australia, that is basically a international property investment company that is basically from the East. So I thought, why don't we do it? Why don't I do it? So I set I should say, an aggressive or quite a big dream, for myself when I set up FMI.
Wow, that's a very exciting story. Amos, do you mind to share with us your footprint of
Sure.
FMI at the moment?
We now have office in UK, of course, in UK London. We have Hong Kong, Singapore. We have Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. We have Japan, Osaka, Tokyo. We also have Malaysia, as well as some of the, well, if you talk about projects wise, it covers really very much everywhere from US to Australia to basically Cambodia.
Wow.
Bangkok, in quite really worldwide coverage. Cities like Cambridge, even Oxford, etc. We cover pretty much. Because I realized when I also one thing when I was in the Big Four company,
Right.
although they are Big Four, but the products, the projects, they were very much focused just on UK itself because the HQ is in UK, so they could only do in UK projects. So when I set up FMI, I said I want to make FMI a truly international global based company. So meaning wise, the project wise has to be worldwide coverage.
Wow, that's a very encouraging story. Thank you, Amos. So, Amos, Hong Kong is a very small city. We only have about 8 million population. However, it is one of the most fiercely competitive markets in the real estate agency space. From my understanding, all the global top players have established footprint in China and Hong Kong, but FMI has built a very decent market share in just a few years' time. Can you share with us your success factors?
Well, when 2014, when I first set up FMI, my number one challenge, in fact, my number one thought was, how could I break through? How could I be different? I mean, every entrepreneur try to make our own company very different from others, but saying it's a lot easier than doing, right? So I identified myself, how can I be totally different from the Big Four? I was comparing the markets. For example, the Big Four were fighting for big developers. They were doing UK only. They were doing London. Well, there's some local agency in Hong Kong. They only do the Hong Kong property. They only do other projects. So I thought there was a market sector that wasn't being putting too much attention. For example, then, US property wasn't much attention. Australia, Japan, Bangkok. These four major market sector wouldn't be target for the smaller agency, nor the big boys. So I was thinking, well, I can't do the fine dine, no, I can be a small little, a cafe. Why don't I do a mid-sector restaurant that there's no one touching it? So I went on, instead of going head to head with the Big Four, I took another route. But when FMI was starting to go up in 2018, I thought it was time for me to have a fight with the big boys. So I started doing UK projects, doing London, and applying some of the technique, because although the agency, the Big Four, were very well much established, but at the same time, they face a lot of difficulties I don't face, meaning procedures-wise, marketing, restriction, a lot of things, they can't do it, they can't be too creative, there's a lot of protocol to follow. So I decided to change the entire marketing strategy from the traditional, online newspaper. I went on to fully focus on media. I went on to do a lot of online, YouTube, Facebook, etc., etc. So I thought that was a magic key that FMI has grown really strong over the last few years.
Right. So, Amos, congratulations on your achievements. So you've mentioned, so I'm sure there will be a lot of obstacles. It's not easy, especially for a startup, for an entrepreneur to start the business, in the beginning. So what was your biggest challenge when you look back, when you start your business?
I always think that two things. One is always human. Human is always the toughest because being an employee before to become an employer, That's a big difference, isn't it? That I don't have to worry about, my monthly expenses those days.
Very true.
I don't have to worry about staff resignation.
Yeah.
No, I don't have to worry about their changes. So I need to adjust myself. I need to adjust my team. I need to also manage my partners, because to be honest, FMI has rebrand over such a short year 3 times. Okay, the first partnership fall into the second partnership, and then eventually now my partner and I.
Oh.
So it went through some difficult times, because I realized when a partner couldn't see the same vision, that's where we need to end, because they could be friends,
Right.
but
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
I think when I was choosing a partner initially, they were more established. They are listed company actually,
Oh.
but because they're listed and because they're so traditional, I don't want to draw my vision and his restriction into my path. So it become really tough while trying to going into the way of running. Well, I need to set up my own vision that I need to be different. So I decided it's either I go for it, or he needs to exit. So, therefore there's a few time of changes before we really finally settled down in 2018. In fact, 2017, when FMI, this brand was really finalized, and me and my partner, we were very focused on, we created the same vision, and we tried a few projects. We went on to run correctly. That's where we found the formula. So from then, I think the smooth sailing starts to come. And the second thing was product, getting projects. Because being a small company then, it's so easy for you to get projects.
Right.
Not like the big boys, their brands, the good things, the good track records. So for us, a lot tougher. So I was trying to, instead of helping the big guys, I was trying to help the small, medium-sized developers, because they are growing too. So why don't we work together? You are growing, I'm growing, let's grow together. So that was my philosophy, and I was thinking that probably is the most correct decision that I made.
Oh, wow, great. So Amos, from what you've shared, I can hear the 2 very important success elements for startups. Number 1 is human resources. So finding a good partner, how you can work with your partner together, grow together, and getting a same vision. So obviously there will be arguments, there will be times, that we have to maybe mitigate some risk and getting a solution. But yet having a good human resources, managing a good team, a group of good working employees seems to be number 1, your success factor, and how you build your business very well in the last few years. And 2, what I've been hearing is you have been differentiating yourself from other major competitors. So you put a focus, basically a niche, in the uprising, smaller, medium, basically growth developers in the residential area.
Sure.
Yeah, I see. So out of that many markets, I know you have been quite active in UK and very active in Japan. So
Sure.
which are your top priority right now?
To be honest, the market changes quickly. Every year, it seems that the market sector changes its, the number 1 business. For example, 4 or 5 years back, Bangkok was number 1, Thailand was number 1, and number 2 was Japan, and then number 3 was Australia, and then UK. But from last year, in 2019, number 1 was UK, and number 2 is still Japan, and number 3 were basically others. You know, so UK, because I think because of my experience dealing with UK property for more than 15, 20 years, right? And Japan was really preference. Number 1 was my personal preference in traveling to the area, knowing the market. And always, when I travel to Japan, I always feel that their projects, the property, it's a lot, what do you call that? The value was a lot, undervalued. So I thought Japan has been sleeping for the last 20, 40 years, the market, and it being the 3rd biggest economy in the world, it shouldn't be that way. So, and also given that there was a lot of new, economy booster from Japan government. So I thought it is time to go look for Japan. And then UK, we explore outside London, for example, in Cambridge. Even in Cambridge, in fact, we have a joint development with the developer in Water Lane. And then Japan itself, we started to develop the first project in 2015. It was a tough project because Japanese are very, very conservative, and they are very, very, what should I say, fence up themselves.
Right.
Basically, not easy to break through the ice. Well, being a friend in Japan, how do I break up to the developer? Basically, sake. After
Lots of drinking.
A lot of sake, a lot of drinking. But you know what? After drunk, you are my friend. That's how Japanese basically react. And I started to make friends with them by not taking projects first. I basically personally invest.
Right.
So through my personal investment into Japan itself, that's how I developed the relationship and got the chance to be the first property agency or property developer from Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. So, Amos, so from what I hear, so you evolved yourself from being an agency into a real estate developer. So, from my understanding, the risk profile of a real estate developer is very different from being just an agent. So how and why you become a developer?
I should say we evolved 3 times. Agency, then we evolved into an underwriter.
Oh,
So in fact, an underwriter, we basically guarantee the number of units we can sell for a project.
Right.
Finally, then be a developer. So it actually took 2 times, right, to evolve. The reason is because I feel as a developer, it looks prestige, right? But there's a lot of problems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues that you need to handle. For example, the land, for example, the mortgages, the completion for staff, the sales side. But why do I want to be a developer in Japan? Number one, the most important is because stocks. It's so difficult to get stocks in Japan. Unlike UK, there are a lot of developers that could easily get stocks. But in Japan, it's so tough. So the only way that I realized that I could have zero hassle on stock is I become the own developer. I own it. So from some projects like in Thailand, you need to have a local partner. So what we do is we co-development, or we underwrite, or we joint development.
I see.
So in UK, because it's quite far, I can't possibly to run Japan, to run into UK, to fly over to UK those days, every single week.
Right.
So what I do is I work with a joint developer in UK, while he in charge of the entire management and sales in UK, while I took anything outside UK. So anything outside UK belongs to FMI. And we have 100% control on the stocks. And therefore, the other agency has no way to enter. So at one part is a destructive economy, isn't it? So I disrupt the people to get the stocks while I hold the stocks. So I think that is the part that motivates me to become a developer.
Wow. Amos, thanks for sharing us your trade secret. Your trade secret is getting a good partner in an overseas market, but yet have to get a very good people relationship, managing a good partnership, and make sure both sides are win-win and both sides are happy. So, Amos, I'm sure the audience, everyone is interested to know about the market outlook of the residential property market in major cities such as London and Tokyo. So, what's your view on the overall residential market outlook in London for next year?
I think London is always will always be there. You name all the billionaires, millionaires in Hong Kong and worldwide, they always have one commonality, which is having a property or real estate in London. And London is the only city in UK to be known one of the investment haven. Being over the 50 years history track record, no matter whichever timing you decide or you want to invest into a London property,
Right.
so long you keep for 10 years, okay, the property price will always be higher. So therefore, I would think London would always be there. And also because the UK government has been really, really smart. I think they play a right way in the game. for the COVID, during the COVID last year,
Right.
to reduce interest rate, to attract people. And sterling remains pretty interesting to a lot of
Very
other
true.
countries.
Yes.
All-time low.
Yeah.
And also the BNO,
Right.
which attracts a lot of Hong Kong people.
Yeah.
Basically wanted to invest or buy into UK for self-use. So you could see a big changes, the game changer
Right.
since the BNO has been announced.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think London would still, or UK itself, would still be the number one market next year. So number two, I think Japan would have a return of Jedi. I call that because they've been sleeping for the last 2 years
Right.
due to COVID, due to the Olympics, that is not so successful because people can't go in.
Right.
But I would think that besides Tokyo, Osaka would come into pretty interesting story because in 2025, there's a World Expo
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
And that will be right in Osaka.
Oh.
And apart from that, there will be an integrated resort, which is casino. Also decided, aiming in Osaka. So I think these two major factor and major event would definitely boost up Japan market. But to be honest, in COVID-19 from last year to this year, you don't actually see Japan property prices go down.
Right.
The local market remains very, very strong. The reason is because the youngsters, the young Japanese, realizing that, wow, I couldn't be just, depending on my pension for my retirement. So therefore, they start to pick it up. You know why? Because the Japan government allows them to take up mortgages up to 90% or sometimes 100% if you work in a good company. So therefore, it basically encourages the young Japanese to start investing into real estates rather than those days they just rent, they don't buy. So you get to see Japan market is still very, very active. And I think the third cities or fourth would be very much depending on the government. A lot of time, real estate is linked to government policies. So I just heard yesterday that Australia may open up, it seems that they open up their visa, or the permanent residence for the Hong Kongs, with some restriction, of course. But I think the more they let go, they saw the demand from Hong Kong, that wanted to migrate out. So I think any big changes on these government policies will encourage the market to have a sudden boost. That's what I think for next year.
Thank you, Amos. So, a lot of opportunities, and we can see the market has been react quite in optimism.
Exactly.
Very good, very good. So, moving back to the business. So, I know you are a tech believer. The real estate agency business requires normally loads of human touch. Do you think the artificial intelligence can replace human agents?
First of all, I must clarify, I'm actually a tech idiot. Well, but being a tech idiot, I know how important is a tech. The reason because a lot of people always ask, is FMI going to get listed? Is FMI planning to get listed? I look at all the major real estate listed companies worldwide or even in Hong Kong. I realized that the PE value isn't that attractive because it's been a very traditional business, isn't it?
Right.
But at the other side, if you look at anything that tech with technology, the PE value goes haywire. It totally went on 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. And since there is a fintech, I don't see why there's not a prop tech.
Sure.
And I personally feel these technology would changes the way how the property market work. But I don't think it would entirely, remove the humans. The reason is because buying a property is still a very major investment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can buy a car. You could even buy something, a watch, through your internet. But buying a real estate involved in a lot of personal feeling, involved in a lot of, basically human touch. And most important, I realized people who can afford to buy expensive property want services. I don't think they want a robot that's so cold, right?
Yes.
Because I always say buying a property is a start of a relationship, not an ending of a relationship. They want after-sale services.
Right.
But what technology could help is to basically, for example, those days you need to fly over to UK to have a look at the property. But nowadays, go into the Google Map or Google Earth, In fact, you could see things that you couldn't even do on a site inspection. For example, from the Google Earth, you could even see how many stories high from next door.
Oh,
What is
yes.
next door? What is next door?
So real.
It's so real.
It's so real.
It's so real now.
Yeah.
And I think virtual reality helps. For example, now we could easily see what's outside the balcony through the virtual reality. So technology does help. And also technology does help on price comparison, rental comparison. Everything become really transparent. But I would think the human touch would be the last phase.
Right.
Therefore, over the last few years, besides running our business, I've been also putting a lot of effort into tech. For example, our own CRM system that quite a number of, so to say, international companies have been planning for it, but it hasn't act on it. But all our system here running on the basically, internet and also basically running on tech.
Right.
And we are trying to combine our technology into a property from the prop tech. So investors in future could easily look into their portfolio in the apps to check whether the property price has gone up. So the property you bought from me, Carol, has gone up or went down. Has it been rented out? How much has been rented out?
Right.
Etc.
Right.
Everything on your fingertip.
Yeah.
I think that will be the world of the prop tech.
Right. So basically is we should use and leverage technology
For sure.
to improve the selling process, the customer service level. And I think most importantly, having a big database that we can be able to derive from different data sources and to give the best advice and recommendations
For sure.
to clients. That's very, very good news. So Amos, if we turn into something, outside business,
Sure.
I know you are having a very good work-life balance. You're someone work hard, play hard. But despite your busy schedule, you have been very active participating in charity work. Can you tell us a little bit more about your involvement in the community?
Well, I'm one of the Rotary Club member. In fact, this year, I'm the president of the club of Rotary Club of Channel Islands. I'm very honored, and in fact, charity service and social service have always been my dreams, and that I would think will occupy most of my retirement job. It will form major of the time that when I retire, and I would think, to be honest, for the first few years when I set up the firm, I don't have that much time to get involved.
Understood.
But when I started in 2016, 17, when I realized things are getting back to track, I thought it's time to give it back to the society. I always believe that a way of kind of karma and energy that you earn from the society, right? So you should return something back to the society. And especially in the Rotary Club, I get to see a lot of friends, a lot of my business associates, they are all inside. So we have a common vision and a common dream to do things together. Not only it helps to serve the changed life, but it does make me happy. In fact, it's not about how prestigious it is. It's when you did something, and then in the end, someone sent you a photo, when the beneficiary, that smile, I feel it's worth really, billions of dollars. So I would think charity would be one of the things. In fact, FMI itself involved a lot of charity. Sometimes it takes some time for this big charity to get decision, right? And I would just say, why don't FMI charity just do it first? And I would think holding hand in hand, we grow together. That makes a lot more sense and motivates me to work harder.
Right. Giving back to the community, helping people
Sure.
makes everything nice and
Exactly.
makes the team having more motivation
Exactly.
and positive energy to reach to another goal. So a final question from me before I open the floor to the audience. What will you say, Amos, to someone who wants to work in the real estate agency business? What are the exciting parts of this industry? And what would you like to say to the younger generations who are interested to work for you or to build a career in this sector?
I think this industry is easy to enter, but it's difficult to master. From my experience, there are a number of people who come in and out from the industry, okay? Because they thought it's so easy getting getting a project sold out, or one or two properties sold out and getting commission, right? That sounds pretty easy, isn't it? But I always said, doing a property, if you want a long term, you want to make it a long term, because you want to have friends, you want to develop friendship, or you want to develop this in this industry. You have to spend effort, and you got to control yourself to be very disciplined, on what to sell and what not to sell. There are a lot of products outside, but there's some products. After Carol, you bought from me, you probably won't see me again. You know what I mean? It's either you don't want to see me or I run away. So that won't last. But if you want a long-term relationship, I would still think that you need time to master. You need to know what is good, what is right for you, what product is good for your client. That makes sense. For the youngsters, I mean, for people who want to come to this industry, you're more than welcome. And also, it's an industry that's not bad if you want a good earning for money. It's really not a bad industry. But I think to master it, do spend some quality time to build up your own knowledge, not just on the property itself,
Right.
but in the whole area. For example, to understand a bit more for your clients would push your future and push your career a lot further.
Yeah, Amos, I think you are very right. So when I look at the real estate sector, this industry, it's not only a simple word of saying real estates or a word property. It involves so many different subjects. Someone from, for example, your company, I found they're quite professional in explaining things like economics,
Yeah.
interest rate trend, banking, mortgages, legal terms, obviously,
Forex.
conveyancing, forex, foreign exchange. So someone has to be quite all round, and obviously a customer service type of attitude.
You are absolutely right, Carol. But unfortunately, there isn't a lot of companies providing that kind of, the end-to-end services, because it really involves a lot of human, and also the knowledge, right? Because being involved, I always say that selling a property now is not like those days. I sell your property and my job is done.
Yeah.
In fact, now we become tax advising. We went to go to study what's the school nearby. There's a lot of questions. Being a more rounder, in order to provide the more and more services to your clients. I think that is a customer satisfaction, isn't it?
Yes, we all have to equip ourselves
Exactly.
and keep improving, keep picking up new knowledge and new trend in the market. So, Amos, thank you so much for your sharing. So we now open the floor to the online audience for Q&A. So if you don't mind, let's wait for a few minutes.
Sure.
So there's a question coming from the audience. Can you share what you find most helpful when engaging with different stakeholders around the world, especially across cross-cultural situations? Very, very good question.
I always respect, I think, the cross-culture. I've been in this business because I always believe the cross-culture thing, because you can be very strong in UK or very strong in Thailand.
Right.
But once you come to Hong Kong, nobody knows you. And also the culture difference, the mindset difference. So, in fact, how can I cross over this culture? Those days, you could easily take a flight. But now, thanks to the technology, we could easily do a call to Zoom and things like that to reduce our flight, in fact.
Right.
But also, I think, knowing the culture. If you're doing with people from UK,
Right.
we always start with what? How's today's weather, Carol? Always start with something first, right?
Right.
But if you start in Japan, it's another way of doing it. I think understand the culture would help in your business, and also being probably in this industry for more than 20 over years and dealing with different people, we know how to give the personal touch and the human touch to our business.
Right. That's great. So, well, Amos, so I've been taking so much of your time today. We really appreciate. If there's no further question from the online audience, we'll end today's session here for the time being. Again, Amos, thank you so much for joining us today. Your sharing is valuable to us all. I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Carol. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So for our WES participants, please stay tuned to our next event in November. Thank you for joining us today. Take care and see you all very soon.